Well, they're still doing construction outside my studio here, building a new home across the street. So there might be a little bit of a noise. Actually, my dogs are starting to act up, so they might be making more noise than the construction people across the way. But I'm going to go ahead and try to do another video here. I'm pretty much wrapping up these first few five paintings that I've previously shown you that are going to be a part of a series of paintings that I plan to be working on for, I'm guessing, at least the next 6 months. My girls here, my dogs hear me talking, so they're getting a little excited because they hear me talking, but hopefully they'll calm down. Anyway, so yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm starting to wrap these things up, and also, well, like I mentioned in a previous video, I'm out of canvas, and so I'm going to need to purchase some more canvas, and if it's not pre-primed, I'm going to need to be getting some gesso so that I can stretch some more canvases before I continue on with this series. But I'm actually thinking about going back and revisiting a previous series of some incomplete works, or at least one incomplete work from that series. And I think that's a good way for me to really sort of step away from this one and then come back fresh later. So while I'm in the process of trying to acquire more canvas, I'll go ahead and start doing that. But today, I think really I want to talk a little bit about some of my influences over the years and even currently. And unfortunately, I think due to copyright issues and things like that, I can't show you actually images of some of these artists, but most of them are pretty well known, and it shouldn't be that hard for you to look them up if you're that curious and you want to take a look at some of those. But just in terms of my imagery and mood and things like that, artists that have influenced me over the years have been probably one of the biggest influences has been an artist named Eric Fischl, especially early on when I was doing some of my early work, but even now, very much so in terms of the way he uses light and the human figure, and also just sort of the general mood of his works. Very similar, at least from my perspective, to Edward Hopper, and I think the probably his most famous painting, you can look it up online, Nighthawks. I think that his use of light and his subject matter, his portraits and figures that he has in his work, I think all in all create a very similar kind of mood that I'm hoping to get in my works. And even artists like, oh, my mind's gone blank, Andrew Wyeth, and his portraiture of Christina, is that Christina's? Yeah, Christina, his model that he used. Now, as far as my style and things like that, it's probably more like it's probably more inspired by Edward Hopper and Eric Fischl. Eric Fischl probably more than any. Yeah, those are three artists that I would, I'd probably even go back even further and even mention Caravaggio, that dramatic lighting and things like that. And I wish, I'm really sheepish about mentioning these terrific artists and comparing myself to them. It really makes me feel kind of sheepish, putting my work up next to theirs. But it is what it is. But what I can do, since I can't show images of these other works, I can show works from my own collection. Now, works in my own collection are not really as much of an influence directly into my own work, but more just sort of an influence in inspiration for me to get into the studio and start painting. So I think I'm going to take you around and show you just sort of some of my own collection from that I've collected through the years. These are from artists that most of them, in fact, really everyone in almost everyone in my collection, with the exception of maybe a couple of pieces, are artists that I've known through the years that go back as far as 50 years ago, influencing me in various ways. So I'm going to give you a little tour of my collection, and just so you can sort of see how some of that has influenced my work over the years. So the first artist that you see as you enter my home actually is probably the artist that I actually met first. I met this artist over 50 years ago, and he was actually my high school English teacher, John Strickland. But he actually, I had him for English and creative writing, and he actually was the artist that inspired me really to be an artist. I was in his creative writing class, and he was getting me interested in just sort of like aesthetics and expressing myself, and he encouraged me to pursue the creative aspects of my personality. So yeah, John Strickland was one of the first artists in my collection. Let's take a look around here, and maybe I should turn on some lights. Hang on a second. Okay, I don't know if that light has helped or not, but the next artist I'm going to show you is an artist named Terry Copen, and he's an artist that I exhibited several times in several different venues in my career as an arts administrator. There were at least 3 different venues that where I exhibited his work over time. But I've known Terry for many years, and his work is very inspirational. And I often come in, every painting, but especially Terry's probably my favorite artist to come in and just really, look at his work very closely and look at his imagery and technique, and just sort of the way he handles paint has always been very interesting to me. But this is from a series of paintings that he did actually on casket lids. This is a triptych, if you can't tell. Let me see, get at an angle, and you might be able to tell a little bit better how these are actually casket lids, 3 casket lids, creating a triptych that he has done this painting on. And his work is really, really inspiring to me. So I even have a work from one of my previous students, a young woman, when I first started teaching. I don't think I'd been teaching more than a couple of years when I got Desiree here, but this is a student's piece of mine that when I was teaching one of my students. So now let's go ahead and this next one here. This is a painting by Ed Sanders, and Ed and I actually, along with another artist in my collection, we'll talk about Becky later, but Ed and Becky and I were actually in the same foundation class at the Heron School of Art in school. So I've known Ed for probably the next longest amount of time, and this is his work. And here again, just looking at the paint and his work and the energy and his subject matter, it was very personal, kind of like my own, except his, my work I think probably has a dark undercurrent to it, but his Ed's work, both literally and figuratively, is kind of dark, and it relates to his contemplation of his faith, and he grew up, with a Catholic background, and I think that so he did a lot of these Pope paintings, And and look at this gorgeous paint. I just love, look, I can sit here and stare at Ed's paintings forever. So let's move on. Okay, let's look at a little tiny, we've been looking at some big pieces. Let's look at a little tiny piece now by Steve Paddock. Got a little bit of a glare on there. Let me do it at a little bit of an angle to get rid of that glare. But he, here again, Steve is someone who I've exhibited in multiple times in, gosh, I bet you at least 4 or 5 different venues that I've worked over the years, and I exhibited Steve's work, and his work is, you know, really has a nice sense of humor to it. But his painting technique is just superb, and this is just a 6x6 painting. But I purchased this painting from Steve a few years ago, and I chose this one in particular because it's kind of reminiscent, even though it's one of his smaller pieces that he's been doing lately, these 6-inch by 6-inch paintings. But he used to work rather large, 6 feet by 6 feet. And maybe even larger in some cases, paintings. But when he was doing a lot of those earlier paintings, he did these rolled carpets, and which he's not doing so much anymore. But when I saw this in his studio, it brought back memories of some of those earlier paintings, so I purchased that from him too. But here again, just, you know, a terrific painter. Okay, actually hanging right next to Steve's is another artist who's I have exhibited his work many times, Brian Fick. And here again, his he just the way he experiments with materials and different processes and things like that has always intrigued me. And I really like the way he incorporates the grain of the wood that he's painted on into the imagery. In fact, it kind of reminds me of a painting done previously by Steve over here, Steve Paddock, called Knowing Wall, where he did this sort of Mona Lisa-esque type of grinning face on a wall, and within the grain of a wall. Very, very fun painting. Okay, now let's move on to another artist, Carla Knopp, and this is actually a painting that I actually exhibited when at a Vivo gallery back in I guess it was probably around 1990, 94 maybe, and just just really terrific paint. And it's kind of hard to get all this video because this is a rather small painting too, but and then her quirky imagery I've always found rather fun. And I think in terms of imagery, not necessarily painting style so much, but the imagery and the mood of the painting, I think she probably has influenced my work quite a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one more piece. This is one of a piece that I've had for many years. In fact, this might be one of the first pieces that I actually purchased, and this is from an artist named Becky Wilson. Becky Wilson Schoaf. I'm not sure whether which name she goes by these days as an artist, but Becky is that other artist that I mentioned was actually in my foundation class at the Heron School of Art, along with Ed Sanders. The three of us really met, our probably first day of art school at the Heron School of Art. And she and I, became, in fact, I remember she actually cut my hair one day in class. And, Becky was one of the artists that was I was featuring when I founded 431 Gallery, actually during the final year of my undergraduate studies. And So, and this is a piece that I purchased at a benefit auction to benefit the 431 Gallery. But yeah, Becky's work is very whimsical, and in fact, if you notice all the texture on there, a lot of it is just like the texture is right in here is just the paint on panel. But this is the texture in these peacock figures here is actually from an old bedspread that she cut up and then applied to the panel and then painted over it. So yeah, her work is very fun. So there you have it. That maybe will give you a little bit of an idea exactly, you know, where my work is coming from. You know, as I said, you know, the body of work that I'm working on now is based upon, you know, memories, and right now going way back to childhood memories. Depending upon how far I take this series, I may take it even further into adolescence and adulthood. But, you know, as I've been contemplating that, and I think about the memories, my really, really early childhood memories are a lot more innocent. I've you know, as I've sort of started recollecting some of my adolescent and especially my adult issues where I feel a little more responsible maybe for my actions, I feel, you know, maybe a little bit guilty about you know, some of the things that I remember and my behaviors and things like that. So I'm not really sure if I'll take this series that far or not. But in general, you know, I mentioned in my previous video that, you know, I consider every painting I do kind of a self-portrait, and my work in general through the years, if I can find something common in terms of, you know, what my motivation has been and what the content of my work has been about, it's really just sort of been exploring, you know, my own interaction with the world and coming to terms with and trying to deal with and make sense of this crazy world that I'm trying to navigate my way through, and especially, you know, in these you know, as a young child, you know, really first, you know, experiencing things for the first time and coming to terms with my relationships with, in this case, with my father and with wherever the slingshot painting is, there it is over there, but also with my mother in that case, yeah, it's just sort of, and in fact, you know, an old friend of mine from way back when I knew John Strickland, you know, commented on one of my previous videos, you know, why is it that I refer to myself as Goofy Bill? And that really is it. I'm just, I sort of see myself as, you know, trying to navigate my way through a world and society, and that, you know, often leaves me perplexed and I can't make sense of. So yeah, that's kind of what my work is about.